Sam, it felt like a big moment for you to make a statement, given the significance for Richmond. How did you see that one?
I mean, it was a strange game to prepare for, to be honest. There's 92,000 people turned up, and maybe half of them for one person who we've all admired for a long period of time. So, preparing for that was different. I'll be honest. We obviously spoke extensively about the event, and I think it was a fantastic experience for our players to be in an event, not just a game. So there was both aspects of it today, and couldn't have written the scripts better in the early part of the game with him kicking that goal. The view of the crowd was phenomenal. Just everyone stood up at once and doing what he's done for so long. But we knew we had no choice but to play our role in it, and I mentioned during the week that we felt like our role was the villain and we had no choice in that, so we had to embrace it and make sure that we played in a manner that we would be happy with. And we walk away reasonably pleased with the performance.
Was it a weird opportunity to just kind of be a fan of footy in that moment that he kicked that goal as well?
I actually said after the game, when he kicked that goal, obviously from the coach's box, you got a fantastic view, and the whole MCG stood up at once. It was something beautiful about it. I said, did any of the players, did you actually enjoy it? And one of the forwards said, yeah, of course he did. And just sort of everyone just shook their head. And we did talk. We said, at some point he'll probably kick a goal, and then it will be on. The camera will be on you. Dealing with the self-consciousness of those moments is part of what you have to do as an athlete in the game that we play. And I was wrapped with the way that we handled that moment, because it could have easily pulled us apart, but it didn't. And we handled the first quarter really well and continued to play pretty good footy for the majority of the day.
Who was the forward that enjoyed the goal?
Private individual meetings. I think they just sort of all shook their head and said, of course he did. I think we've all watched Dusty for a long time, and sometimes you just have to shake your head and say, he's pretty good.
Sam, can you believe that? You were 0-5 to start the season. Now you're inserting yourself in contention for finals, and maybe Charlie, you had a good game today as well. But the way your group's come along the last few months has been really impressive. What do you make of it all, and just the comeback and the improvements?
Yeah, I guess we've been working at our game for, this is my third season as the coach of the side, and I knew that when we talked extensively, been very transparent with the plan and how we're going about it and what we wanted to build, and I'll be just as honest and transparent now, we're far from a finished product. You watch some of the other games and you watch some of the other teams in the competition, and then you compare it to us, they're much further along than we are. So we've got some work to do in our game, and even today, that was a good win. But there's a lot of stuff in our game that wasn't as sharp as we're going to need to be to play against the Sydneys of the world, who are the top of the ladder and well and truly playing a step above what we're doing at the moment. So our goal for this year was to put ourselves in winnable positions in as many games as possible. And so we've had 3 games that still sting me, that we were far from winnable positions in. And the challenge for us is, now we go into the split round, we go into the bye now, 7-7, we reset our season, and can a young group continue to drive with I remember when the fixture came out, I thought, having the last bye was a bit of a challenge. 14 games in a row, that could be a tough little block. But I'm really proud of the players, and if I'm honest, I'm a bit disappointed we've got the bye now, because we've got a bit of momentum and some belief. So we're going to have to create that. We go to Perth on the other end of it, to play West Coast, and that'll be another challenge for us when it comes.
You're going to have a few fans who are probably thinking about maybe clearing any holidays in September. I mean, finals. How do you deal with that now?
Yeah, 1 week at a time. That's how I deal with it. I've said it every time someone asks me about finals, it'll be 1 week at a time. So our week ahead right now is to rest, revive, recharge. Because with a young group, sometimes you get to that round 17, 18, 19, 20, and there's some fatigue, so we can't afford that. So we need to continue to drive all the way through the season, and part of that is recovering really well. And so we need to recover for the next few days, mentally and physically, and then we'll come back to training later in the week and get ready for a West Coast game, which will be really important.
Your points are not about far from the finished product. You've been very transparent about what it was all about. Are you surprised 7-7, especially given you started 0-5?
I know I know that everyone wants to know what you expected, but I don't sit at the start of the season and go and say, oh, hopefully we can win X number of games. I don't do that. Maybe I will when I'm a bit more of an experienced coach, but at the moment I look at every game as, can we put ourselves in winnable positions? And sometimes you're a bit more optimistic about that. Sometimes you think, I think I go into every game with a plan and, making sure the players are really well prepared as they can possibly be. And sometimes, particularly, in the last couple of years, it's been, I hope we can, do these things. Whereas there's a little bit more belief now, not just from me, but from the players in particular, who they not just hope that we can do something, but they actually believe that if we control our controllables, that we'll be competitive enough to put ourselves in winnable positions.
What about Nick Watson? He was unbelievable today, coming in for his return game. Pretty happy with his performance, even though he didn't kick more than one goal. He only had the one goal, but he was lively, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he's it's an apt nickname for him, isn't it? Like he does some fantastic things. I mean, I know that everyone will look at I think he'd won 4, but I think he had 7 shots on goal. And everyone will talk about those. But really he went back with the flight a couple of times. He was able to halve some aerial. We even managed to win one. But he halved some aerial contests to give himself a chance. And he just would turn up in the right spots. And I think when you're in your first season, there's an enormous amount of pressure. I mean, he's not very tall, and he's 18 or 19 years old. He's playing in front of 92,000 in Dusty's game, and he's playing with that level of enthusiasm and joy. So I'm wrapped with what he's doing, and the players that he's got around him. They love playing with him, and I'm not concerned about his goal kicking. That'll come, and that'll be more of a finished product for him. But I was pleased that he was able to step up on the occasion and played a really important role for us.
How pleased are you with that forward line, Sam, in terms of that defensive pressure? You won the tackles inside forward 50. You've got Kalshidir, you've got Marby Ochol, these big boys who are happy to tackle, as well as the Nick Watsons, the Jack Ginovans. How pleased are you to see that defensive aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think the forward line's been a work in progress. They're working on their chemistry all the time, and it's been an ever-changing sort of group over the last 12 months. Obviously, this week we decided to go with Blake Hardwick in the back half. So there was some area of thought of whether or not that would help us with locking it in the forward line, because he's obviously a fantastic defensive forward as well. So I think when the best sides, they're able to lock it in their front half for longer, and when we have the mix that we have in there at the moment, it seems to be working pretty well.
It's only a few months ago you released James Blank to Enrico, and we're all looking at you going, where's going to be your key backs this year? And today, Weddle, Scrimshaw and Sis obviously just slaughtering them with their work across half back. How pleasing has that been, just the way your defence has not only coped with that, but has really developed, come along at a rate of knots?
Yeah, I mean, we're a bit undersized in the back half. You didn't mention Frosty, who probably deserves a shout out. I thought there was a contest late on the far right pocket where he was able to just halve a fantastic contest. We ended up going coast to coast in that play, but all off the back of one fantastic effort from him. So I think when the backline group, I mean, Sis was fantastic today on an individual level, but for the most part, our defence hasn't been filled with highlights. It's been filled with predictability, doing the right thing at the right time, just doing what was needed. Not all the time, of course, as any defence is, but I think the thing with our defence is they've worked out what helps you win games. Not necessarily what goes on the stat sheet. What their teammates value is what they're valuing, and as we've built across the season, I think that defensive group has solidified, and we've got some. It's probably for the first time there's genuine heat on positions. I watched the Box Hill game this morning, this afternoon, and thought there's about 5 or 6 players that I'm desperate to get into the team, and all I can say to them is you got to keep knocking on the door, because it's hard to change a winning formula.
It felt like the centre clearances where you were able to get a bit of control in the game, but there wasn't one really high performer compared to the others. Is that something you're really proud of? Is that even performance to them?
Yeah, I think a bit like the backline. I think David Hale, he's worked really hard on that consistency, and we've added Dylan Moore maybe over the last month or so to do a few more centre bounces. But I mean, we got torched in the first couple of weeks of the season, so I think hopefully we're off 18th now. But we've been 18th at centre bounces all off the back of the first few rounds, so we know that that's a really important part of the game, and we weren't able to probably be as potent as I'd like today from centre bounce. But Meekie played an important role, and the rucks have been changing around a little bit. So not having continuity with the ruck always makes it a little bit more concerning. But I was really happy that the mids collectively, like I couldn't have told you who the best mid was today. I just thought they all sort of played their role, did their job, and that gave us enough looks at it.
Just take one more. Sam, you've coached on the ground the last few weeks. Was that premeditated, and are you finding that beneficial?
Yeah, I'm never sure where to coach from. I always start in the coach's box, and then it depends on what I feel like the game needs. Sometimes it needs a change of energy, or if there's a more complicated structural change, then one of us will go down to the bench. So last week, David Hale went to the bench in the second half. This week, I thought halfway through the third quarter that our messages weren't sort of clear enough, I didn't think. And so I decided to go down to the bench and felt like the other coaches had a pretty good read on what was happening. And I'm never sure which is the best one, and I think you always just look at the outcome and say whether it was a good decision or not. So I was pleased to be down on the bench at the end.
Sam, 7 games, the last 7 games, you won 6 of them. It doesn't feel like this group go up and down in terms of emotions. Every game is a must-win. How do you make sure your biggest win of the season today in terms of margin? Do you send a message to the group now going into the bye? Hey, we still got a big job to do, or are they pretty good at just coming along each week and treating it the same?
I think they're pretty good. We've practiced it for a long period of time. When you're 0-5, you have to be good at getting over things, and so now that we're 7-7, we've got the same skills. Get over things quickly. Wins, losses, shouldn't matter. We need to get over them quickly. This week, I must admit, is a different challenge because we have time off. We're not going to be with it. Normally, you've got 48 hours to feel how you feel, but we won't see them in 48 hours because they're having some time off, which they deserve. So it'll be a bit of a different challenge for us, but I've got full confidence that the players will handle the morale of the group and the energy and make sure that we've got a desperate desire to continue to improve, because if we think 7-7 is great and we're a finished product, then we're not going where that we think we should be.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks, Ross.